all right. Thank you. Sorry, I was looking for my last note so that we can continue from where we stopped. Okay, so about 2, 3 weeks ago, we started the report writing process, and this is a very, in fact, the most important lecture for this class is the report writing class or lecture. So I told you that we're going to follow simple steps in writing the report. These 7 steps, okay? These 7 steps, and we did the cover page. I showed you how to prepare a very simple cover page, which should be your page 1, if you like, page 1, okay? Something like this, very simple, very easy. I showed you how to do that. Then you leave space for executive summary, which should be your page 2. Then an introduction, which should be your page 3. Then section 1 on requirement 1. If you remember our requirement 1 in this example we are solving is on financial statement analysis. Okay, so you can see the title there, and subheadings as we write the report. Okay, so of course this section 1 could take about depending on your handwriting and how you write, could take maybe 5 pages or thereabout. So if you have stopped at page 3, this should be ending, say, at page number, recommendation should be ending at page number, say, let's say this is page 8. Page 8. Let's say this is page 8, right? Right. Let's say this is our page 8. Okay, so this is our page 8. So section 2 can now start from page number 9, right? And if you recall, just like I said, okay, let me just open up the requirement 2. Let me open up the requirement 2 so that we can see what we need to do there. So for the requirement 2, so you can also open to Exhibit 7. The requirements came up under Exhibit 7 in the unseen, okay, under Exhibit 7. So this is the requirement here. This is the requirement here, requirement 2. This is requirement 2. This is requirement 2 here. And it says an assessment of contract supply service as contained in Exhibit 10 and 11. So Exhibit 10 and 11 were given the contract supply service there. This is about the contract supply and all that, right? And Exhibit 11, and that is it. That is one thing we should do. So remember when we were solving requirement 1, before we could do anything, we had to go and break down the requirement. So the same thing is what we are doing now. So the first thing is assessment of contract supply service. Now look at it. The statement continues and say, you are also, in addition to the first thing I said up there, you are also required to do what? To critically evaluate the proposed strategic business opportunity, which is the installation of what? Meat processing plant by DFFP as contained in Exhibit 12. Okay, that is it. As contained in Exhibit 12. So 1, assessment of contract supply service. 2, evaluation of what? Meat processing plant. Then he said, and discuss broader commercial and ethical considerations as well as risk. Commercial, maybe effects of inflation, maybe population and all that, and ethical considerations and risk that may be associated with accepting or venturing into this proposal. So these are the two major things and the sub things we should look at. Okay, so that was why here we now have assessment of you can see assessment of contract supply service. Contract supply, let's put service, and evaluation of meat processing plant. Evaluation of meat processing plant. Now, you will recall that for the contract supply service, so let's see again. Let's see the contract supply service in exhibit in exhibit 10. So look at it, exhibit 10. This is the contract supply, right? This is the contract supply that came to DFFP. So we just have the terms. We are given the terms of the contract here, right? About 8 times. Then in 11, additional information to the terms, where the management of DFFP reacted to the terms of the contract, right? You can see that here now. Basically, there is no computation to be done here. It means that we just need to look at the terms one after the other and identify issues, maybe where the contracts may not be, where the terms may not be favorable. We should identify those terms that may not be favorable to your clients, DFFP, and those that may be favorable to them that they should quickly accept, right? And the reaction, we should look at the reaction, whether it makes any sense in relation to the the contract, right? Now, that is one part for the contract supply. The other part is the installation of meat processing plant, the evaluation of meat processing plant. Now, we're given exhibit 12. We're given exhibit 12 for that. And in the exhibit 12, we're given the project cost. We're given the project cost. We said the cost, the total cost of the project, that is the factory and plant and equipment, 100 million naira. We're given 100 million naira, and they said there will be 10 million naira investment in working capital, right? That is the cost aspect of the project. And we're also given revenue projections. So we're given estimated revenue as well as probability, and we're given the cost of capital, to be 15%. And they said it is estimated that the plant will have 5 years useful life and the scrap value of 10 million naira. So this is the data for the meat processing plant. That means the best method of appraisal would have been the net present value method, because it takes into account the time value of money. So it's the best approach we can use here. So we can do the computation. Let me see if I can bring out the computation. Let me see so that I can put it out there as an appendix. So under the appendix, right? So here, appendix 2, appraisal of meat processing plant. Then we can have it there. Let me see if it will come up. Okay, good. So we have the meat processing plant here. Let me see if I can bend it like this. Okay, so if you see, look at it. So we have the years here. So we assume that year 0 is when there's nothing like year 0. Let's say time 0 is when they invested 100 million, and they added the additional working capital. And time one is when the cash inflow started coming in, right? To time one to time four, right? And time five is where they sold the assets. Okay. Time five they recovered the assets, and time five they also sold the assets. Now, so here you can see the cash flow. Cash flow is there. Then the next thing on the column number 4, probability. So because we are given probability, we have to use it to multiply the cash profit so that we can get the estimated revenue. So we use this to multiply this. You can see, use it to multiply this, use it to multiply this, use it to multiply this. And that is how we got the estimated profit. Here, look at the estimated profit. So these are the estimated inflows. These are the estimated inflows, right? And we can now apply the discount factor. We apply the discount factor and we get the present value. So these are the present value. These are the present value, and this is the net present value. And you can see it is negative. The net present value is negative, and this is the total estimated profit. Total estimated profit. And that is the very simple net present value computation for that, right? Right. So before I go on, again, today we are supposed to look at. Remember, I told you that there are three analytical skills. There are three analytical skills. I will send this material to you once we are done with the class. Remember, there are three analytical skills. The operational and strategic analytical skill, which we have looked at. The business analysis, we have looked at it, and we have seen how to do a proper report, a standard report, when question comes under business analysis. And one of the things I said during that lecture was that that is the only time where you will need to use business models such as PESTEL, SWOT, Porter's 5 forces, benchmarking, value chain model, and so on and so forth. Right. So that is the only instance where you need to use the model. Right. And the second analytical skill that the requirement can test is the financial statement analytical skill. And we have, to a very large extent, we have looked at even how to compute ratios, how to interpret ratios, how to make comments, and we have demonstrated how to write a report using DFFP case on financial statement analytical scale. Right? I've demonstrated that for you. And the third analytical skill, which is the financial data analytical skill, right? And anytime you hear financial data analytical skill, I always want your mind to go to those techniques that you have learned under your performance management and strategic financial management. Okay, so again, they share similarities because under financial data analytical skill, we're also going to be following the 8 steps in writing. Look at it. DPA is a CR, the DPA and all that. So we are going to be following the 8 steps as well. But then, you see, what is financial data analysis? That is the question we should ask ourselves, right? Okay. Now, most of the time, in case study exam, your clients, or maybe the business you work for as an employee, might need to make certain financial decision, and they will need to be sure whether that decision will be profitable or not. So they may need to make decision on maybe appraisal of a particular project, appraisal of a particular contract. Maybe they want to evaluate a proposal and all that. So they need you to help them to make a well-informed decision based on certain financial data, right? So there are few things we could learn here. Some of the analytical tools that you need to do a good job here, they include forecasting and budgeting techniques. You may need to forecast certain maybe revenue or expenses, or you may need to help the organization prepare a budget. Okay, and you may also need to do some kind of financial appraisal to appraise maybe a project or something, or maybe to look at a contract and look at the financial aspect of the contract. Then you may need to compute some kind of break-even and profit volume analysis or for pricing decision. Then you may need to do profitability mix or profitability decision. Then project appraisal. Then you may need to help them in a kind of short-term and long-term decisions, risk and decision-making, sensitivity analysis, and business valuation analysis, right? These are examples of those techniques or those tools that you need to learn in order to be able to do justice for financial data analysis. So what you will see is that most of these topics, few have been taught in PM and few maybe in SFM, right? So I've prepared a note that we can use to do revision. So what you need is some kind of revision, very light revision on those topics. I know you have done them before. Some of you are writing SFM, you are still doing it. I had a couple of you, maybe a few of you said you need the revision. So I've prepared this note, but we cannot start looking at this note here now. So we need to complete the report as writing aspect of the class. Then I will find time after your after the other lecturer must have been done with you. Then I will find time to come and revise those techniques with you, right? So I've prepared the note and I will share the notes with you. You can see I've prepared the note. I've put a couple of examples there that we can just play around with so that we can refresh our mind on those topics. So I've done a couple of things here, right? So once you are done with the models, because by next week, Mr. Ali will come to the class to take you through some of those models that you need to learn. He will revise the models with you so that you can also remember that under the operational and strategic analytical skill, I told you that you will need the knowledge of those models to solve the case, to solve that requirement that tests operational and strategic analytical skill or business analysis. So it will come as from next class, we come to revise the models with you. So once it's done, it will take maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So once it's done, I will come back to revise this with you. All right. So these are the things. So then we can now go back to our so it's from this knowledge that we can use to prepare the we can use that knowledge to prepare the net present value for DFFP, and we have 80.9 million naira negative NPV, and the total estimated profit is 27.75 million naira. So this is exactly what we are required to do here. So once we have our appendix prepared like this, right, well prepared, and you can see the table, anybody can follow through with this presentation. That's the beauty of it, and that is one of the areas that will fetch you mark. You know, the appendix 2 is 4 marks. Remember, it's 4 marks. Appendix 1 is 4 marks. So not just when you put all the numbers there that will fetch you 4 marks. Your presentation will also be we also fetch you some marks, right? So then you can now come back to the report proper. You can then come back to the report proper. So for the report, let's see. Remember, I said that again, for you to now be sure to see how the examiners, how the assessors expect you to solve this case. So let's see the 5 diets we have been checking to see what they actually want from you as regards financial data analysis. Let's see what they actually require from you as regards financial data analysis. So here we have 5 diets where they've tested financial data analysis. And you can see this is the November 2019 we have been solving. And we have November 2020, May 2022, November 2023, and May 2024. May 2024. So these are financial data analysis requirements. Financial data analysis requirement. These are financial data analysis requirements. So let's see. I don't want us to take time to read everything, but these are financial data analysis requirements. So let's see under those skill boxes or sub-skills, what they actually require from us. What they actually require from us. So remember, the first thing is the use of data and information. So let's see what they require from us. See, the first thing here is, it says for the, this is the November 2019 DFFP's case. It says, uses information in Exhibit 4 and 10 to evaluate the shop's contract proposal. Exhibit 4 and 10. Exhibit 4 and 10. Then the next thing, uses additional information uses additional information in Exhibit 11 to evaluate the shop's business. Right? Then uses additional information in Exhibit 4 to evaluate the proposed integrated meat processing plant. Uses information in Exhibit 12 to evaluate proposed integrated meat processing plant. And if you see all the diets here, it's the use of data and information talks about using information in those exhibits that relates to the requirement. Again, it then means that for the two requirements, exhibits are purposely structured for the two requirements. So you need to learn to identify those exhibits in relation to the requirements and use them appropriately. Right? That is one key thing you need to learn. And the other thing is that I told you that if they just say uses information, then for what? What do you want to use it for? Fine. Maybe you use it to do some computations, fine. But then I believe personally that with the knowledge of the business analysis, remember, under the business analysis, the use of data and information has to do with how you use it to talk about the business. It's more like giving introduction, more like writing introduction under that particular requirement. Okay, so I believe that the use of data and information is to do a bit of introduction. Of course, you are going to use them to do computation, but you also need to give the audience a kind of introduction to what you want to do, right? Introduction about those things you want to do. So remember, there are two things we want to do. We want to appraise we want to assess the contract supply service and evaluate the meat processing plant. So it then means that from my own knowledge, I mean, I'm telling you based on my experience. So maybe when you are studying it, you can then come up with something else. But based on my own experience, that is what I'm telling you. So it then means that you should do an introduction. You should talk about the contract supply service based on the information and exhibit given to you, and talk about the meat processing plant. Okay, that is what I believe. Now, so you can see they say use this information in exhibit 4 and 10 to evaluate the shop supply contract proposal. So we are going to use reasonable information from exhibits 4 and 10 to talk about the contract supply and the meat processing plant. So let's go and see exhibit 4 and 10. Let's check exhibit 4 and 10. So I will open to exhibit 4 and 10 to see a very reasonable information we can pick from exhibit 4. Exhibit 4. Yeah, this is exhibit 4. So again, we are going to look at it and say, because we have retail contracts with the shop and two things, and integrated meat processing plant. So again, personally, before I pick any information, this is what I think about. I think about because I want to use it as an introduction. So what we introduce these two things to the audience, to my reader, right? So they would like to know about what I want to write, right? So I will now look at information that will tell them about what I want to write. So look at it. Detail is a retail mall catering for the middle and high classes. Is that right? The shop retails virtually everything and all that. So I think my reader would like to know about the shop. Okay. They would like to know about the shop because this particular paragraph is talking about the shop, right? So I can just copy it. I can just copy it, right? I can just copy it and use it as my introduction. So when I come to, so the first thing is to give heading. So I can say overview of the shop contract supply service and meat processing plant. My network went off. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can
Sorry,
hear you.
my network went off. I'm back now. I hope you can see my screen. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So from the second paragraph, you can see that the second paragraph is talking about the contract supply. So I believe my reader will likely want to know that they are willing to enter into a long-term contract for the supply of this thing. So I can just copy from here to here. Okay. Up to this point. I can just copy up to this point. I can just copy up to this point. Right? I can copy up to this point and put it there. Please, for because of time, you will not need to copy. You will have to paraphrase, right? You have to paraphrase. So if you can read through now, you see it says This shop is a retail mall catering for the middle and high classes of the society. It has its various stores. Okay, it has its various stores in different locations within the cities of Lagos, Ibadan, or within 50 kilometers of Detroit farms. This shop has contacted, okay, this shop has contacted Detroit farms through its marketing department for a business relationship. This shop is willing to enter into a long-term contract with Detroit farms for constant supply of fresh farm products such as meat, poultry, fish, vegetables, fish and vegetables to its various shops. These products, right? These products are currently being imported from South Africa by this shop. If this contract stays true, Detroit farms will be supplying this shop with this farm products, and this shop will stop all importation. That is my point number one. Okay, that is my point number one. So if you still see so that is point on you remember they said on D shop. This one is on D shop. So point number one, they now also said that we should use information in exhibit 10. Right? Let me see. Let me confirm that. I think exhibit 10. Yes. To evaluate D shop's supply contracts proposal. So this first one is on D shop contract. So let me see exhibit 10. So if I open to exhibit 10 now, I will also look for a very reasonable information there. Okay, so in exhibit 10 is where the shop I mean the terms of the contract is. All right, so let me look for a very reasonable information I can add there. So now Bishop would like to enter into a supply contract with Bishop on the following items, on the following terms, right? And the first one, they said Detroit farms will produce the following for Bishop, right? They've listed those items properly now. So I can just copy this. I can just copy this and use it. I can just copy it and use it. And in fact, I can use it up to point number 2. Let me use it up to point number 2. I hope you are following. So I'll use it up to point number 2. Right? Right? You can see. But please, you need to paraphrase. So because of time, you cannot do copy and paste like this. You need to paraphrase. Okay? Okay? Okay. So right. So you can see that this makes a lot of sense. Okay, let me do it properly. The supply and meat. You can see it makes a lot of sense now. Now says the above will be packaged according to Bishop's specification. Right? Right. That is point number 2. So I've made two relevant points. I've used two exhibits now. In fact, I can even say see, I can look at it. I can reference the exhibit. I can say see exhibit 10. See exhibit 10 because I picked this from this exhibit. I can say see exhibit 4. All right. So let's see what else. They said uses additional information in exhibit 11 to evaluate Bishop's business. I think we have talked about Bishop's business, right? We have talked about Bishop, but let's see exhibit 11. Let's see exhibit 11. Why Zoom locked me out again? I mean, the other time it was because of my network. Now I don't know why. Oh, okay. So, so you can see that this part is talking about the meat processing plants. Then, consider the installation of integrated meat processing on the farm. So I can just copy this. In fact, I can just copy this. Look at it. I can just copy this. Yes. And come here. Please don't do copy and paste like this. So it will take a lot of time. Right? Right? Now. So that's what I'm talking about. Just putting it very well. So I can say again, I can refer to it, see exhibit 4. Okay, that is point number 3. Let's see what other exhibit they would like us to use. Use information in exhibit 12 to evaluate the proposed integrated meat processing plant. Exhibit 12. You can see that the exhibit 12 is on the integrated meat processing plant where they give us the data for the meat processing plant. So let me see what data I can pick. Look at it. I will just say, look at it. I can just copy this. I can just copy this. Cost of capital, 15%, 5 years, scrap value 10. So let me paste it. Sorry, I don't know why this is logging me out. One of my colleagues has complained the other time too that the system used to behave like this. So I don't know why, but we have to manage. Okay, so let me just continue. The total cost of capital are not that, and 5 years and 10 million naira, 10 million naira. Scrap value, right? Right. So let me say CSB 12. Please mute your mic, please. Who is that? CSB 12. Ali, mute your mic. Oh. Okay. So now you can see that is how to use data and information, right? Right. That's how to properly use data and information. And if you have done that, then you will be able to score to get that 4 marks, right? So that is what I believe. So the next one is the professional tools and knowledge. Let's see what they expect from us. Use of professional tools and knowledge. So they expect us to look at it. They expect us to calculate expected revenue from the integrated meat processing plant, calculate the net present value of the integrated meat processing plant, and correct interpretation of the net present value, evaluate the terms of supply contract from D-Shop. Okay, remember the professional tools and knowledge is where you where you need to use appropriate model or technique to solve the requirement based on the requirement, right? So remember, we have for the meat processing plant, we have chosen to use net present value, and for the contract supply, we are just going to pick some of those contract terms and talk about them. So let's see. So if you come back here, so we can say that contract. What do we say? To pick on Eden. Let me say. I don't want to use analysis of. Okay, let me just use that. Let me manage it. Analysis of Bishop contract supply and net present value of meat processing plant. Let's just manage it that way. Okay. So if you look at the contract, so I can now move to the contract supply. I can go to the contract supply and look at two terms there that may not be that I may find issue to it. Okay. The term 3. Okay, 5. I can talk about uh 5 and 5 and 8. So let me talk about 5 and 8. I'll just copy everything. But I just want to talk about 5 and 8. All right. I want to talk about 5 and 8. Right. 5 and 8. You can see. I just want to talk about 5 and 8. So I can say according to the terms of the contract given or as presented by Bishop okay, it will determine the presented by Bishop. The company will determine the type of fertilizer to be used in the farm, right? In the farm by DFFP, right? I can say more so, Bishop is not bothered about pricing as it believes the it believes that the customer can get the customer to accept any given prices, right? That is 2 points from contract supply. Now, then I can make points from the computation for meat processing plant. We got total estimated profit as 27.75 million. Meanwhile, it is estimated, that the that total profit from the meat processing plant is 27 million, I think 750 thousand naira, right? However, the the net present value of the investment in the meat processing plant is estimated to be, what's the net present value? 80.92, to be 80 million 92,000 or 920,000 naira. Right? Yes. So 4 points. These are the analytical tools, right? Then these are the results from the analytical tools that we have deployed. Then the next thing is analytical skill, right? That's professional tools and knowledge, analytical skill. The next thing, identify the unfavorable clauses in Bishop's contract. Determine the method of appraising the proposed integrated meat processing plant. Explain that the supply contract from Bishop's contribution to revenue could not be determined, as many clauses in the contract are not certain. Explain that the effect the company contracts could have on the viability of the proposed integrated meat processing plant if concluded. So here is where we now, I said we should interpret whatever we have put up there, right? Whatever we have put up there. So we can interpret it. So we can discuss on it. So I can say discussion or interpretation of Bishop contract supply service and integrated meat processing plant. Okay. So we said so they will determine the type of fertilizer, right? So what could be the implication? The implication could be that, okay, Bishop want to determine the type of fertilizer to be used by DFFP. So what are the implications of that, right? There are many angles to it. One, the cost of the fertilizer may be out of the budget, maybe out of DFFP's budget. That is one. Two, what gives us the assurance that fertilizer that they want to determine or they want to suggest or the fertilizer they want to say we should be using, what how are we sure that it is not the one they've seen in South Africa and they want to ask us to use it? What if it does not yield like the normal fertilizer we have been using in Nigeria here, right? So those are the implications. So this could affects DFFP's production cost and may also not yield better results as 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 gotten from the fertilizer sourced locally. Okay, that is on that first point. And the second point, the shop is not bothered about pricing. This shop is also not bothered about pricing. This could negatively affect the contract as many buyers are known to be price sensitive, So bishop should pay attention to pricing. Okay. Then so the estimated profit from the meat processing plant. So what happened to the estimated profit? We estimate to spend 100 million to invest, and we have only estimated profit of 27.75 million. You can see the difference. DFFP has budgeted over 100 million naira on the meat processing plant, and the estimated profit is only what? Is only 27 million naira. This is far below what has been this is far below the investment and may lead to loss. Okay. Meanwhile, you can see that I'm just making comments. I'm making comments on those things that we brought in earlier. However, the net present value of the investment in the meat processing plant is estimated to be minus. It's negative. The net present value of the investment is negative, which implies that the project is not going to be profitable and not viable. Right? Right? So that is that. Then the third one will be issues and options. Okay? Issues and options. So we can continue like that. So issues and option will be those issues, those critical issues that we have identified based on the requirement. We have seen that the project, the investment is not viable, and there are unfavorable terms in the contract. Let's see what they identify as the issues and options. And I said when you are looking at the issues and options, you can relate it to internal. What is internal to the project at hand or to the complaint? Look at it. Identify that the clause on the shop that requires the farm to evacuate all unsold veggies and replace them is very loose. Okay, identify that detailed farms cannot properly evaluate the contract as the cost of packaging is not used. Identify that detailed cannot evaluate the contract as the cost of fertilizer to be used has not been determined. Identify that the proposed integrated meat processing plant is not viable. Identify that it is possible that the project becomes viable if the so these are some of those issues. So I can say issues, issues, issues in the contract and meat processing plant. Okay, what are those issues? What are those issues that they just mentioned? Evacuation. Evacuation of unsold products is an issue. They mentioned contracts not properly evaluated as many costs are not given, right? As many costs are not given. I read that this one cannot evaluate the contract as cost of fertilizer. Cost of fertilizer not given. Not given. And I read that the processing is meat processing plant not viable. And lastly, they say projects might become viable if cost information are given. So these are those issues. These are those other issues that are in the contract and the meat processing plant. So let's see, that is issues and options. Then applying professional skepticism. Just like I've told you, professional skepticism is when you doubt when you critique the data and information given to you. You can see we have been given estimates as revenue, cost of capital. Estimate is also an estimate, and some other information in the contract supply, and professional skepticism and ethics. And remember, in their response, they talked about reselling. Ethical issue is also labeling the product as imported, right? So those are the, look at it. Queries the ethics of D-Shop labeling Digital Farms products as imported product is an ethical issue. Query Digital Farm management decision to repackage unsold products from D-Shop to resell them as fresh ones. Queries the reliability of probability used in calculating the expected revenue. Express doubt on the risk involved in D-Shop's contract as a result of many uncertain clauses. Okay, ethics of labeling. So the heading here will be evaluation of information and ethical consideration. Okay. So labeling of products as imported. That's one. Labeling of products as imported. Then decision to repackage. Decision to repackage evacuated products as fresh. Okay, that's another one. Then another ethical issue, reliability of probabilities used. Estimates used for processing plant cash profit. And risk involved. Risk in many uncertain clauses. Many uncertain clauses in the supply contract. Right? Those are so you identify these issues. You can say I just brought them down. So we are going to discuss them. We discuss them, the implication and all that, and give recommendation. Okay. Then the next one is evaluative skill and judgment. Why my interpretation is that why, and that's why you see me put external factors or opportunities and threats. Why you may have most of the time this evaluative issue will also be the same with the issues and options. If you see, evaluate the Bishop's contract, evaluate the viability of proposed integrated means, show the expected revenue from that shows they are the same with issues and options. If you see, look at it, they are the same with issues and options. They are virtually the same. Look, identify that the clause on that to evaluate unsold, identify digital firm cannot properly evaluate the contract cost. Digital cannot evaluate the contract cost for fertilizer and all that. They are basically the same, right? So if you should always if when explaining the issues and options, you have interpreted them to be internal factors, to look at it that maybe factors as regard the contract, for instance, or internal limitation of the complaints, weaknesses or strengths, then you can explain the evaluating skill and judgment and link it to external factors. Okay, you can link it to external factors. So evaluate the shop's contract. Evaluate the viability of the proposed integrated means processing plant. Let me just copy them. I want to copy them. So since I've said, I want to explain them as external factors affecting those things. So let me just say impact of, say, external factors on contract supply and meat processing plant. So let me push them. Right. So evaluate the shop's contract, evaluate the viability of the proposed integrated meat processing plant. Show the expected revenue from the proposed integrated meat processing plant. Discuss the proposed integrated meat processing plant and become viable if. So we can explain them. We can explain them in another angle. For instance, we can say that uh, um, we can say that Bishop's contract may be profitable, as many Nigerians, as over 200 million Nigerians will buy agricultural products. Okay, we buy agricultural products. You can see, evaluate the viability of the proposed integrated maize processing plant. Right. So we can then explain them. We can explain them like that to link them to external factors. If we have explained the issues and options in a way, we explain this one in external factors. Right. So the next one will be conclusions and recommendations. So let me see the conclusions. What they ask us to conclude on. Of course, conclusion will be on the requirement. What does the requirement say? Ask us to look at the supply contract and the meat processing plan. So for the supply contract, we have seen that many of the clauses are not well spelled out. Many of the clauses are unfavorable, right? And the meat processing plant, there are many costs that have not been included and is not viable now. Okay, so you can see, conclude on certain terms in the contract, conclude the clause in the requires evaluation that requires evaluation of unsold veggies and meat is one-sided. Conclude that the management of detailed farm decision to repackage unsold veggies and all that. So you can see the conclusion should be on the requirement. So conclusion, contracts, many right, many contract terms are uncertain and may require further clarifications from DSHA. Okay. Okay. Then conclusion on conclude that the clause in the then clause 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 on evacuation of unsold products seems one-sided and may require proper review. Okay. Okay. We should also conclude. We should also conclude. We should also conclude on viability of the meat processing plant. Meat processing plant is not may not be viable as it gives negative NPV. Meanwhile, this can become viable when the shop gives further costing information. Right? Right. So conclusion. So we can conclude based on what we have seen here. Right? So conclusion. Let's see what they talk about in the conclusion is also should also focus on the requirement, and that's the first thing. Focus on requirement. Then other conclusions, other recommendations you have given when you are interpreting, when you are discussing, when you are analyzing should also come in. But here they said recommend that the management of data farms should discuss on certain clauses. Recommend that the data farms manager should discuss with data farm possibility of expunging clauses on evacuation. Recommend that the proposed ingredient is not viable based on the data provided. Recommend that the project may become viable. So you can see. So based on this, let's see. We said many contract terms are uncertain and may require further clarification. So D, then we can say DFFP management should require further clarifications on all the uncertain terms in the contract. Clause on evacuation. So management should also try to expunge, they should take it away, expunge the evacuation clause from the contract. Then recommend the MPV, I mean the meat processing plant, the meat processing plant is negative and may not be viable. Let me see what they said about it. May not be viable based on the data provided. More data should be collected. They should collect more data to know. Then, meanwhile, let me see the last recommendation they made. Recommend that the project may become viable if the project may also become viable if other cost information is provided by what? By Bishop. By Bishop. So this is 4. Then you can down all those other recommendations that you have made when you are doing analytical discussion, issues and options, professional skepticism, evaluative skill and judgment. You can bring them in, but these are the 4 basic recommendations you should first make when you are doing the recommendation. So you can see this section 2 now is over. So let's say section 2, you started from page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's say this is page 13. It ends on page 13. Page 13. It ends on page 13, right? So this is so that is the end. That is the end of the 2 sections. That is the end of the 2 sections. So once we are done, what do? You come to executive summary. You come straight to executive summary. So what are the things that you need to do? 5 things you need to do under the executive summary. Introduction. Under the introduction, you talk about the purpose of report, summary of 2 requirements. Summary of 2 requirements, right? Summary of 2 requirements, assumptions, skepticism, right? 2, summary of requirement 1, conclusions. Summary of requirement 1, recommendations. Summary of requirement 2, conclusions. And lastly, summary of requirement 2, recommendations. So let's do that. What is the purpose of the report? I think we did that under the introduction. See, the purpose of the report. That's the purpose of the report. I can just copy that. Where is this page again? Page 3. Okay, so the purpose of the report. The purpose of this report is on the review of, yes, then the summary of the 2 requirements. The summary of the 2 requirements. Okay, so I can say we have been required to assess DFFP's management account, right? Assess contract supply service from Disha and evaluate the meat processing plant, right? Assumptions. Did we make any assumption? Did we make any assumption? Let me see the computation here. We assume that the cost of the building and working capital are in year and in time zero. Okay? Okay? Okay, they are in time zero. Cost of building and working capital are expended in time zero. In time zero. And working capital recovered in time 5. Yeah, so that may be our assumption. So skepticism. Remember we had our skepticism management accounts. Management account not audited and estimates were given for revenue from meat processing plant. Okay. Summary of requirements 1 conclusion. So what are the conclusion in requirement 1? Let me see. Requirement 1, the analysis shows revenue has been growing steady. Okay, let me just copy it so that I can be able to do the summary. So I'm showing you how to do that. So I'll copy it. So I'll be able to do the summary properly. Okay, this one is not copy. Summary requirement 1 conclusion. Okay, let me summarize it. DFFP's revenue is what? Is growing. While gross profit margin has remained constant. Costs of sales is high, but constant. Cost of sales is high but constant. ROCE is declining while interest is growing. Okay, that is the summary. I can leave that as the summary. You can see very easy. So I want to delete those other things I put there. That's the summary. Okay, then summary of, so the same thing, you do it for summary of requirement one, conclusion, and all that. And that will be the end of the of how to write proper report. So I believe that with this, every one of it, and as a matter of fact, this is the first class. I will have to show in detail like this how to go about the report writing. So I believe I've given more than enough, and every one of you should be able to produce a well-structured report like this. And if you see, I've given you the report. So if you see that case I sent to you, the November 2019 case, March, July 2020 case, there are reports in it. So you can also sit down to study these two reports very well, and you see that they follow this process. So look at them very well, and study them, and you can use it to prepare your own report. So you are writing two reports for me. Two reports. You write the November 2019 report and the March July 2020 report. Those are the two reports that you will write for me. Right? So everybody should be able to write this report. So if the two reports should be ready by mid-April. I should get the two. Please, the report should be ready by mid-April. If not, I will access the reports from our VI center. I will access reports for our Isolo center. So there are many reports I will access. So if your report does not come that time and it's coming later, I may not be able to have time to access it. And precinct will also come out too. So it's not when precinct come out you now give it. When I'm working on the precinct, and you now bring your report. So if your report can come earlier than that, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic for me. So do your complete report and send to me. So let me entertain your questions. Any questions, please? Kelvin, Eleya, Bukola, and Esang. Where are the others? Where are the others? Any question, please?
I'm still here.
I wanted to say Omowumi. So I was looking for Where have you been? You were not in the class before now.
My data got finished, so I have to quickly buy. I buy data every weekend now. So.
Okay. So by next week, your Mr. Ali, who will take you on models will come in. He will come in. I will inform him that he can now come in. So he will come in. So once it's done, I will now make time for you to revise those financial data analysis tools with you. I will find time to do that. Although I will send the material to you, so you can. They are just simple things that you can just look at on your own. So I will send the material to you. Okay. Any question, please? Any question? Any question? Hello?
Okay. And
Okay, I can hear your mom.
okay. You said Mr. Alimi will take us next week on the
Ali.
models or something.
Yes,
Really, yeah.
yes.
Okay, so this report that we worked on now, is there any space for the model here, or because I'm trying to see how we would later incorporate what if we teach us next week into this particular one we prepared, or this
No,
question
no,
does
no, no.
not.
No, it does not require models. These two diets that we look at, they do not require the use of model. They do not require the
Okay,
use of model. So what you can do, if you want to learn how to use model in report, so just go and look at those diets. I've given you the list of past diets. Look at it. Look at those, the ones that require the use of model, and write the report on it. It's as simple as that. Or you can just study you see the way we were looking at the 8 skill boxes under the case. You can look at it and use that to come up with your report. So just use it so that you can learn how to write reports with the model. I know it's very simple. Just watch the video back. It's still the same process with the financial statement analysis and financial data analysis. It's the same process if you look at it very well. It's still the same process.
all right, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Kelvin and Ogenetega. Ogenetega. Am I
None,
correct?
sir. Yes.
Any question? No question, Abi. Please, your report should come before mid-April, before 15th of April. I want your report, everybody. I want your report. I'll drop it on your group now. Okay? I'll drop it on your group now. I want your report by 15th of April. So if there are no questions, thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye.